Ahoy, and welcome. This is Admiral. What possible entry of Chronicles could be grander than Alexander? New details have been released about the upcoming Chronicles DLC, which, to the surprise of no one, is called and about Alexander the Great. On the off chance that anyone was still thinking it was about something else, you are loved, but do not pass go, do not collect $200, and do not become a police detective or any type of analyst. It's been telegraphed consistently since Battle for Greece, and I don't anticipate any Tangut bait and switches or major departures from the established scope and theme by the Chronicles team. Today we'll be looking at what we know so far and how it matches up to fan expectations, as well as how it compares and contrasts with Battle for Greece. Let's check it out. To start off, we'll be discussing the three new civilizations. As predicted, we of course have Alexander's own Macedonians. We see them here with the Phalangites wielding these truly monstrous Sarissa pikes. These bad boys surely have more range than the Kamayuk, at least 2, and even 3 range wouldn't shock me, so their power when stuck together is going to be considerable. We also see a few siege units that look like the Lithobolos or Stone Thrower, that have a very similar pose to the Bombard Cannon and seem to use the same projectile. We only see the backside of the cavalry at bottom, so I'm not too sure about their identity, but they could be the companion cavalry. The announcement mentions that Macedonians can also build fortified outposts, which allows you to move units to the front line faster. The green enemies in the picture belong to the second civilization, the Thracians, with their iconic shields, Phrygian helmets, and a curved sword that looks like a long version of the Sika. The cavalry shown here are probably the Rumphia warriors mentioned in the announcement, and it's stated that they have a unique technology allowing them to generate gold from combat, which sounds like a paid version of the Keshik mechanic that's more powerful. And it mentions that Thracians have a variety of bonuses and technologies that turn their skirmishers from neglected trash units to deadly fighters. My guess, among other things, is a charge attack, or maybe even the capacity to destroy or ignore armor, but limited by a charge. We'll have to see. Last but not least, and also as expected, is an Indian civilization, as we identified one of the maps shown in an earlier teaser as a likely setting for the Battle of Hydaspes in modern Punjab, where Alexander used the element of surprise to cross a flooded river to attack and defeat Porus. The new Chronicles Indian civilization is named Puru. A little odd, as that name seems to apply more directly to an older civilization, but apparently there's some debate about this, and the intent here seems to be association with Porus. Not my area of expertise, but let me know if you know more about this name, and the extent to which it may make sense as a name for the faction in question. The Puru most notably have an elephant unit with a long spear. Very likely yet another ranged melee unit that I expect will be an absolute tank, with all the anticipated strengths of an elephant unit plus range. Fortunately for the Macedonians, of course, their infantry carry an even bigger stick. Indians also have an archer and spearman unit, the former which are said to provide precise ranged support by wielding devastating bamboo longbows, so they probably have above average range and or accuracy. Moving on to the campaign, it of course mainly deals with the famous exploits of Alexander the Great, with 16 of the 18 scenarios being played as the Macedonians, and only a single scenario each for the Thracians and Puru perspectives. Be aware that this upcoming campaign does have 3 fewer scenarios than Battle for Greece. I'm more of a quality over quantity guy, so I'm not going to split hairs over this, but I know that the amount of content greatly influences some people's judgment of the value of a DLC. Otherwise, the offerings look surprisingly consistent, and just as the first Chronicles edition added 2 architecture sets, the Alexander the Great Chronicle continues to provide high visual value by adding 2 more for the Thracians and Puru, as well as overhauled graphics for siege units. The Thracian architecture is quite similar to the Greek, but you'll notice the differences when you start looking for them, and I particularly like their wonder. And the Indian architecture looks solid and similar to the base game Feudal Age Indian architecture. It also sounds like there's a good quantity of new campaign units. Surely not as many total units as the original installment, which had to fill out full generic unit and naval lines from nothing, but we wouldn't expect that anyway. And there are still many occasionally appearing campaign units from Battle for Greece that can be justifiably repurposed here. Specifically mentioned are 16 units and 4 technologies that can be unlocked in what will surely be a more consequential version of the persistent choice mechanic from Battle for Greece. This should lend itself to high replayability and avoid having the campaign feel too stale despite playing most of it with a single civilization. There are also 13 new music tracks coming to the campaign and skirmish mode, so they definitely haven't been cutting corners when it comes to audio or visual elements. The DLC will be available in a little under a month on October 14th, and I expect it will be very well received by Chronicles fans. As I've said before, I'm personally more invested in the base game's medieval theme, but I think it's good to have other offerings for the audiences that fell through the cracks with the handling of AoE Definitive Edition and even Return of Rome, and/or fans of the Rome at War mod, as long as these maintain a degree of separation or an opt-out feature for people who want to preserve the core medieval theme of AoE 2. And that is the case here, as these civilizations will not be coming to standard ranked. But I imagine you will be able to mix and match with medieval civs in lobby games, as is currently the case for the Battle for Greece civs. Of course, I still appreciate and enjoy the undeniable quality of the Chronicles series, and I expect that this follow-up will reach a similar high standard. I don't know how feasible it is, but I like the idea of having a separate ranked ladder for antiquity civilizations if there is enough demand to make that worthwhile. Anyway, those are my quick thoughts on the news about Chronicles, Alexander the Great, but what do you think? Let me know in the comments. That's all for today, and thanks for watching. This has been me announcing the augured and anticipatedly awesome arrival of an archaic edition accentuating the August Alexander. Till next time.